All right, it looks like we are live. Thank you everyone for joining us today for a day in the life of a Tenable security engineer. We'll go ahead and just give another 30 seconds or so for people to trickle in, and then we'll get started. This is where we stare at you all awkwardly. We can't see you, but we sure you can see us, and we're just gonna sit here and look at you all. Oh, Camila, I think I'm coming through as a. Oh, nope, it did. It was echoing for a second there, but that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, you're fine on my end.
All right, 15 more seconds, and then we'll get going. All right, so there we go. So again, thank you everyone for joining us today for a day in the life of a Tenable security engineer. My name is Joe Decker. I lead the state, local government, and higher education engineering department here at Tenable, and with me is Camila Barnwell, who is one of my security engineers. As we're going through this, if you do have questions, please feel free to put them into the comments section. If we catch it while we're going, we might be able to answer it right there. If not, we'll leave them all to the end and make sure that we get to everyone's questions. I believe they're also going to put our LinkedIn information into those comments. So if you'd like to link up with us later on, please feel free to do so. Really, what we're going to go over today is what life is like for an engineer at Tenable. And that's what I'll be going through, but also really what the beginning of an SE career is like. Camilla's been here for a little bit over a year. She's my newest engineer, and she came in with no SE experience. And so she's had a really unique year in getting up to speed not only on Tenable, but also security engineering. And so we thought it was really important for you to get her viewpoint as well as someone who's been here for over a decade doing this. So first up, what does a security engineer do? And this is kind of a funny way of saying it, but we, the unwilling, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much for so long with so little. We are now qualified to do anything with nothing. And that's just a funny way of saying we do a lot. There are sales engineers and security engineers. And while we are the sales engineering org here at Tenable, we are more security engineers than just strictly on the sales front. We don't just go in and do deals. We're not just strictly working with customers. We have a lot of different pieces, all the way from interacting with product and development and research to working with our customers on deep dives and when issues come through. So at Tenable, being an SE is not just strictly sales. We do quite a bit more, all of it to really benefit the sales process, to make sure we're moving things forward. But in reality, what our goal is to become the actual trusted advisor for our customers, right? We don't necessarily even really refer to people as customers, right? They're our partners. And that's what we want. We want to be the ones that they go to when something does happen. We want to be brought in. We want them to know that they can come to us at any time for assistance. Because nightmare scenario for really any security company is to see our customers in the news for the wrong reasons. So anything that the SE org can do to help prevent that is huge. Uh, Now, there's a lot of misconceptions too around what SEs do. If you ask our families, we're always sitting in first class and getting wined and dined as we're traveling everywhere. The reality is a lot of coach, a lot of Southwest, and 3-star hotels. To get some nice stipends, right? Depending on where you are in the world, you could have a good meal or a really bad one. But we do travel. Right? That's part of being an enterprise security engineer, and it's going into customer meetings, conferences, really anything that needs us to be face to face. A lot of virtual as well, but it's still a sales cycle. And in sales, relationships really matter. And so having a personality, being outgoing, being a people person really does help with being a security engineer, especially on the public sector side. On the private sector side, it's a little bit different because generally, after the SE is done with a sale, they don't necessarily talk to those people again, other than here and there as needed. But on the public sector side, because our customers do tend to stay either within their organization or simply move to another department inside of let's say, a state or a city, we have to maintain those relationships. And so that's a big part of what we do. Now, in the middle there, the sales reps, right? If it's a great demo, which all of my engineers always give great demos, so we're always the magicians. But when it's a bad demo, they think really badly of you. You really need to work with your sales reps. They are your partner. Again, at other companies, the sales rep, the territory managers, account managers are really seen as the boss and they tell the SE where to go and kind of drive that. At Tenable, it's very much a partnership. We are all part of the same goal. We're going for the same deal, but we each have our part to play. So it's not where you're getting told what to do by the TM. They're not driving things. It's that partnership working together, and they're your main partner. They're who you're going to be working with day in, day out, who you'll be traveling with. So at Tenable, when I'm hiring, I definitely check personalities. Personalities are a big part of this business because I know if someone is just not going to link up well with a territory manager, they're not going to have success. It's really difficult when you work that closely with people to not have similar personalities, not be able to really have the same vibe as a person. So you really have to do that and be able to build it out. Um, Now, what we think we do, right? We think we're Steve Jobs. We're up there giving the most amazing demo you've ever seen. People are usually on mute, so we don't always hear the oohs and ahs, but we know they're there. But what we really do is this last piece here. Right. We're the ones standing up at the front of the room, pointing things out, making the TM hit the button to skip to the next slide for us. That's really what we do. However, being a security engineer is probably one of the most fun jobs you can have in cybersecurity. The reason being is it's always different. Every customer, yes, they're all going to have very similar needs, but they're all set up in different ways. Their internal politics are different. The way their teams are set up is different. So when you really go in and start to get to know a prospect, potential customer, potential partner, you start to build out exactly what they need. And to do that, you have to ask a lot of questions. And so people don't always know what they want. The TMs don't know what the customer wants. Sometimes the customers, you'll ask them, be like, great, what would you like to see? And they'll list out something that just makes absolutely no sense in the modern world, but it's the way they've always done it. And that's really what it is, always do it. So the main job of a security engineer, especially at the beginning, but why? Why are you doing it that way? Why do you want that? Why are you going to use that? Getting down to the root cause of something can really help to build out the correct solution for that customer. Everything needs to be customized these days. It's not like sales was years ago where you could kind of go in, do the handshake, everyone goes out, grabs some beers, and the deal's done. They don't want to know what your company can do. They want to know what your company can do for them. And we can't answer that question if we don't know exactly why they're doing those things. So asking why all the time, especially if you look like Ryan Reynolds, you probably get better answers than most do. But asking that question can really help to find exactly where we're going. It lets the customer know that we actually do care. We're not just in there trying to sell them something. We want to make sure that they're successful. We want to make sure that they're protected. And we also want to make sure that they have the right stuff. Right, a customer who overbuys that first year because the salesperson is just trying to get as much into them as possible, they're not going to renew that. They're going to have a bad experience. Right, it's that relationship. So being open and honest with them, earning their trust, becoming that trusted partner is a huge part. And asking the but why really does help to get there, because you can really go from, well, we need this report in this format. Okay, why? That's what we look at. Okay, but why? Well, that's how we've always done it. Great, let me show you another way that might work better for you. And so you can take those pain points that they've had, you can take where they've had success, where they've had failure, and really mold your solution to them. Right, security engineers, sales engineers, we're also solutions architects for these organizations. And you're going to really see a lot of different maturity. You're going to see some who they have to do this because of a mandate, but they couldn't tell you what a vulnerability was if their life depended on it. Then you're also going to have organizations where the person wrote some of the tools that you're utilizing, or I've actually been on calls where I brought up, oh yeah, this is an attack tool that we're able to utilize to see where an attack path comes in, and the guy on the call is like, yeah, I wrote that. And so that person is going to have a very different conversation than the person with less maturity. But again, that why question really helps you to get there. That's on the customer side. But the other part of being an SE is making sure everyone in the organization understands what the customer really needs. So at Tenable, like I mentioned, SEs do things outside of the sales cycle. We have what's called the Jedi Council here. It's a team that I lead of SEs who have been here for many years and have knowledge across our entire portfolio and our entire platform. And so we work with our CPO, our CRO, we work with the product managers, marketing, developers to make sure that what they're creating and what they're developing is what our customers really need. Because the SE is truly the face of the company to a lot of customers. We're the ones they trust, we're the ones they come to for good and for bad. So by having that knowledge and by being able to give it to the people who are making those high level decisions, you know, now they don't get necessarily what they really needed, right? This is what we really want them to have, is that tire swing, but we can get close to it. We can get as far into what the customer really needs because we have that knowledge. And hopefully we're not, giving them something like this here, because that's just terrible. We want to make it really good. This is stuff that happens in software all the time. Everyone has different ideas. Developers might think something's really cool and they want to develop it. Again, it's the SE's job to come in and say, why? Why are you making that tool? Because our customers need this. You're designing this. Let's get it closer. So the why question doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going at all times. The other thing is where we really do get brought in quite a bit is with our territory managers, who are great salespeople. They have relationships. They know how to get those things across the line. But as I like to say, we do most of the work. They get to fill out our paperwork. That's not always true. They do a lot more of the paperwork. But just because, again, that's a funny part, right? The TM here is able to show, hey, this thing is great. It's user friendly. It's got pre-installed software. It's got this button. We push the button. What does it do? I don't know. I don't know what it does. Let me get the SE in here. And that's what we do. We demystify. We try to break things down. We learn about our customers. We learn where their maturity is in cybersecurity. And we make sure that when we are delivering a presentation to them, it's tailored to that audience. The way that you're going to talk about products, tools, and security overall with an analyst or a manager is extremely different to how you're going to have that with C-level executives, right? One of those is going to really want to get nitty-gritty into the tool. What is this going to do for me? How am I going to use it? Is this going to save me time overall? How is it protecting me? And then you get the CISO side, who wants to know, what is this driving me? How is this helping my overall philosophy, my overall strategy for cybersecurity? Where does this fit in? How is this going to help me discuss with people who have no idea how to plug in their wireless mouse in order to get them ramped up and understand why we need this tool and what it's doing for us? And that's where the SC really does come into play. And so you do have to have those relationships. You do have to be able to pivot very quickly. But again, it's a lot of fun because you do get to go and talk to a lot of people. You get to know a lot of different organizations. You even make friends with a lot of people, right? You get on some of these calls and it's great. Hey, Bob, how's it going? Did Jimmy make the football team? Depending on where you are in the world, right? Working with customers down the Southeast, I know a lot about those customers, probably more than I need to, but where they go to school, what grocery store they go to, what they're doing on every single weekend. Then you get into other states, other territories where it's very business-like and you have to drive that. So we do try to match the personalities to the territories. And we do also make sure that our engineers are able to have that pivot and be able to talk to things. Real funny stories is recently I've had to pair a SE from Texas with a TM from Boston, and they're working well together, but a lot of my time has been translating Yankee to Southern because they don't understand each other all the time. How one of them works is not how the other works, right? The TM from Boston is very direct with everything, likes to share information, likes to make sure you know absolutely every single detail. This Texan TM or Texan SE, he looks at that like, whoa, what is this guy trying to do to me? Is information so that you have it to do your job. But they have worked really well together. They're doing great things because they both have that ability to pivot. Now, there are some major parts of the SE job, right? A SE at any company, Tenable or any, are going to be doing at least two things. One is going to be demos, which is the main goal of an SE. When you come into Tenable, uh, pretty much your first 6 months is a huge piece of being able to get in demos, looking at demos, doing your own demos over and over and over. Camille will talk to you a bit about that later. But also going to training, right? We utilize a training here called Demo to Win, which is a really nice framework that really any SE can use. Again, a lot of companies, it's not right or wrong. It's just different the way they do it. Here's how you're going to do the demo. This is how it needs to be delivered every single time. Let's get it done. Here we're a little bit different. The way I demo is not the same way that any of my SEs demo because we all do have different personalities. We all have different strengths. So at Tenable, we give the framework, but every SE is able to really create their own personalized demo that caters to their strengths. There is one part of demoing that will always be a terror, and that is the demo gods. The demo gods will always come after you at the worst possible time. Right as you're getting into the big part, right when you're about to wow the CISO and the CFO, and those checks are going to start flying, and you're about to be able to retire, and the demo gods come in and shut it all down on you. Generally, you go ahead and blame your ISP. It's being in Baltimore, all we have is Comcast, so I can really easily blame Comcast. Like, oh, geez, my internet went down. But you have to be able to pivot, right? You have to be able to come back from that. The demo gods are always part of what we do, and it's generally just funny things that can happen. Some data that you thought was there 10 minutes ago is missing, or a system that was working perfectly an hour ago is now down, or your system crashes. Or like a fun one, I was on with a consortium of higher education with CISOs from about 10, 12 different schools, and Zoom decided it needed to do an update right there, and it just ended the meeting for everyone. So yeah, if you ever want to see a guy panic, it's cutting off 12 CISOs from major school systems because Zoom decided to go ahead and do an update. So you have to be able to pivot from that. You got to be a little bit unflappable as an SC because these things do happen, and so you always have to have a backup plan. The other piece that is really important as far as an SE goes are evaluations, right? At Tenable, we call them proof of values. You may also see them as proof of concepts, POCs. But we like to do it as a proof of value. We want to prove the value of our tools to that specific customer. So a POV is going to have a lot of different parts when it comes to setting it up, making sure that it's the right fit, making sure that it's not a waste of the customer's time or our time. And so we need to know things. We need to get in there and do discovery. We need to say, like, look, what do you need to see? What's important to you? What are you doing right now that's working? What are you doing right now that's not working? What are some pain points you have with your current tools? And so you craft that proof of value around what the customer specifically needs to see. What's going to make the biggest benefit for them in their organization and their environment. And depending on the tool, they can take anywhere from a week to months, depending on the tool and the customer and everything that has to go through. We do try to keep them to about 30 days if at all possible. But again, things happen, especially in public sector where you have budget cycles and random people coming in and all of a sudden mandates. Sometimes we don't have to do proof of values at all, right? The demo is the proof of value to that customer, and we just continue to move on. Sometimes they do have a mandate where they're required to do a proof of concept. And so maybe that one's just a little bit easier. Hey, they know they want it, they have to go through the motions. So we just set some things up so that they can see it and check off that box. Others are going to want to do a lot more. They'll want to get into the nitty gritty. They'll want to dive into every single little feature. And that's fine. But the goal is to make sure that at the beginning of the proof of value period, that they have an understanding of what we're going to go over. We're going to have an understanding of what we're going over, and we have those success criteria set. So at the end of it, we say, hey, these are the things you said you needed to see. We were able to do that X, Y, and Z on these dates. We were able to show it all to you. Let's go ahead and move these on to the next steps. Now, those are the two official jobs of an SE, really at any company. As I said at Tenable, we do quite a bit more, especially my team in public sector. We're a driving force around content creation. We're always out there creating white papers, new decks, blog posts, going to conferences, doing webinars like this and others. So we really are out there. One of the biggest things that I have my SEs do is start to build their brand early. Because again, reputation and relationships are incredibly important in the sales world and in the SE world. So by building your brand, by putting out a white paper, it can do tons of things. Has some unintended consequences. I wrote a white paper a few years ago around zero trust and accidentally became the zero trust SME. Not something I wanted to be, but it happened. So you got to be careful with the things that you write and you volunteer for. But it can also open a lot of doors because people read those white papers, they read those blog posts, they start reaching out. You start getting invited to conferences to do talks. You start getting invited to webinars to talk to people about what being an SE is. And that can do amazing things for your career, no matter what you want. There's a lot of career paths that an SE can take, and those extra jobs really help to drive it. Some SEs go on to be product managers, and so to do that, they get involved in testing. They get involved in the early steps of product. They start to deal with those teams, give feedback, and learn that business, and move into product management. Others, like me, we go into the leadership side. So my career was very much about getting my name out there with things like white papers and blog posts, but also starting to get into where I was leading the Jedi Council, right? People could see that I was able to get people in the right positions, find the talent that you need. And Tenable as a company is really good in supporting you in whatever role, whatever path you want to go to. There's also the SEs who are extremely happy being an SE. That's what they want to do in their life. And so they're just going to master that craft and continue to get better and better and do more and more. And so when I do have my one-on-ones with my SEs, when we do yearly reviews, I always want to know, like, what is your goal? Where do you want to go? And that way I can place you, give you those opportunities to shine. I can give you those opportunities to show that you can do that job. Nobody gets promoted here unless you've shown that you can do that job already, which is a great way to do it, right? A lot of places people get promoted on the promise and then they end up failing, which is bad for them, bad for the company, bad for really everyone involved. So, our VP here is very good at making sure people can do the job, that they've shown they already have that capability before they get moved into that. And that's made our organization very healthy overall. It's also made our organization very, very static. We don't lose many people. People do not leave for attrition. Like I said, I've been here a bit over 10 years. There's other SEs who have been here, right, usually plus or minus two of me. but we tend to stick around. There's a group of the Jedi where we have well over a century of combined Tenable experience. And so we stay here, right? And we stay because of the culture that's built. We stay because there's always opportunity to grow. There's always some place to be. And whether that's, I love my job, I just want to be an SE, great. You're an SE now, we're going to move you to senior, then you can go to principal and eventually on to distinguished, right? And the distinguished SEs are the ones who have potentially done things like help craft legislation around cybersecurity, who may hold patents for cybersecurity. So SE's doing a lot more outside of the realm. And it's what we look for here at Tenable with our SEs. I'll turn over here to Camila in a second to go over what her first year was. But I am not an easy person to interview with because there are things that I am specifically looking for. And a lot of that is going to be personality based, right? When I interview, it's a conversation. I don't want to just bombard you with questions that you probably looked up already and have an answer ready to go for. I'm going to ask you stuff like, hey, who do you like better, the Beatles or the Stones? Or what's a personal accomplishment that you're proud of, right? Somebody who comes to me with that and says, oh, well, we had a project and I came in under budget and under time. Great. You don't have the personality we're looking for. That's somebody who's just going to say what they think is the right things. Now, the guy who came to me and said that he and his brothers were the world champions for wiffle ball in 2005, that's a great answer. That's a great personality. Camila had a great answer when she did that. And so, even though she didn't really have the cybersecurity experience, she didn't have the SE experience through the interview with her, and there were a lot before her that just did not make the cut. She was the right choice. And I knew that with her personality, with the drive that I saw in her, that we could get her to be really where she is today, right? When TMs work with Camila, they know she knows what she's talking about. And now I'm just flattering her and all this stuff, so don't pay attention to her. But no, they know what she's talking about. She's been here a year and a little bit over a year. And we generally expect it to take about a year for ramp up just because of all the pieces and parts. But when you got it, you got it. And Camila was one of those people who we could sense right at the interview process definitely had it, that she'd be able to come in. And that's not to say, right, like I said, she didn't have the SE experience. She had done a boot camp. She didn't have the cybersecurity experience. She had worked in other realms in cyber and cloud. But you could tell that she had the right personality, the right drive, and the right trainability to be able to get where she needed to be as an SE. And that's what we're really looking for. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have years of experience. You just have to be that right fit where we know that you can be trained and that you can do the job well. So I'll stop yapping at y'all for a little bit and turn over to Camila to give you a little bit of insight into what happened after we brought her on. So, Camila, after you.
Yes. Well, hello, everybody. And thank you, Joe, for the compliments and accolades. So I've been with Tenable for a little over a year now. And day one, I was like, yay, mama, I made it. And right at the beginning of joining the Tenable team, it was definitely a very warm and welcoming to the team, and not just to Joe's team specifically, to the extended Tenable team, with the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis until this day. I like that, if I need help, especially being new to Tenable and to being an SE, having a good group of people to work with to help me when I do need help has been very good transition over. Especially with my last company, being with them for 7 years and then coming here brand new, there was some apprehension. So I'm just very thankful to be here at Tenable and as a SC, taking on a new career path. Soon after I joined Tenable, I had to start the ramp up period. And thankfully, I took over the territory that Joe had. And so I felt like that was great because not only was he my manager, but he was very familiar with the customers that I'm working with and had good insight of who I'll be engaging with. And it's still extremely valuable to this day. And so, that just also helped with, transitioning into a new role with just, certain questions, and because of like certain experiences that I've never had, you know, with not being an SE prior to coming on to the team. So, anyways, part of my ramp up was joining calls with my teammates and getting an understanding of like their different styles and how they do demos, which helped develop my skills and my own style. Sometimes, I would learn a new product feature, or there's maybe like a secret sauce that we have that makes our product unique. And sometimes I would have like a hang up on how to explain it, and having the perspective of my teammates, to learn how to explain that so it makes sense to me and my customers was very helpful, and really, owning in on my skills. So, that's how it helped me to be where I am today. So in conjunction, of learning, different demo styles, learning how, then I had to learn Tenable products really well, what we offer in a deep level. And that still is taking, it takes time. I think we have like 10 product offerings and features that we, from Tenable, and like I'm at like 7 out of 10. So, it's not a something that, you something that you can just get right away, but definitely learning how to do a lot of this, learn how to demo, and learning how to talk about maybe some of the products that I'm not super familiar with helps out during my time here. So, once I started getting the hang of things, I started doing demos on my own, and that was quite a learning experience. Prior to doing demos, and even to this day, I got to go over them over and over again before I jump on meetings, so I can, know what I'm going to say with the customers. Learning how to work under a different set of pressures. One of the things that Joe had mentioned previously is like the demo gods coming in and crashing your demo right in the middle of you thinking you giving demo gold, and it's just the page is not loading. So, being familiar with the products, being able, for me, being able to talk about what's not loading and like explain the product to the customer, but they still get it even though the page didn't unload. And for the most part, I'm able to do that, thankfully, and the customers are still like, okay, I understand what you're trying to say, and we can move on and transition to another part of the platform. But, other than the demo guides, and working under pressure, sometimes there's a little turnaround time before I engage with customers, and having the flexibility to just roll with the punches sometimes, and really, ask good questions, asking that why, to, even though you may have a little turnaround time, being able to pivot to different parts of the platform, to be able to help the customer out, to really understand what they're trying to look for, which in your product is very helpful. And that just takes time to get better at, there's just something that just doesn't, just start in the beginning. And then, you know, um, yeah, that's pretty much it as far as, ramping up, doing the demos, and then also constructive criticism from my territory managers. A lot of my territory managers been in the game for a long period of time. So being a new SE, being open to that, being able to take that and, not let it bring you down, but definitely, use it to your advantage to work on that relationship. So having a little bit of thick skin, because sometimes constructive criticism can hurt, but it's good, right? It's only to make you better and to work on that partnership. And then also just, constantly learning. So clicking around within the product, learning different features, jumping onto those learning sessions, and making that time for that. to help with the confidence when you are engaging with customers and they ask you questions. And, at first, maybe you might not know everything, but, being able to follow up very quickly is very important when it being an SC and, being able to be somebody that your customer can trust. And then another thing that's outside of, working with Tenable that really helps me with, managing stress. So having things to do outside of just Tenable, being able to have that work-life balance, because sometimes things get stressful. Sometimes you have meetings for 5 hours straight and you're trying to get a hold of your notes and make sure that you're ready for the next day. And so, having those things that you like to do outside of work and really make sure, you stay healthy with that, and stay consistent is very helpful coming in to show up and be, ready to start the next day when you're at work. So, a lot of work, but definitely a lot of, being able to be a whole person is very important too, and to be successful in your role. But, with all of that, I definitely can tell that I've, come far in a short span of time. Now I can run demos comfortably on my own. Some of my customers are now giving me kudos, which feels good. With how far I've came. Most recently, one of the customers was like, "You gave a perfect demo, and you gave the right amount of information that they needed." So having that is really a good feeling, and makes me happy that I made this transition to becoming an SE. And even with all that growth, I'm still continuing to grow. There's always something that I can strengthen to become a better SE. And as I move on, and getting more years under my belt as being an SC, I'm looking forward to that and seeing, where I become years from now and continue to be a trusted advisor with my customers. So that's me and my experience in a year's time with being an SC at Tenable.
Awesome. Thank you, Camila. And something she didn't mention was shortly after she came here, we had acquired a cloud security company.
Okay.
And they were looking for SCs to really deep dive into it, be trained up on it to train everyone else. Camila had come from a company who did cloud. And so even though she had only been there for about 2 months, I kind of threw her to the wolves on it. But now she is one of our cloud experts. When a cloud security meeting comes up, she's the one we go to. She's the one who sends it because she really took that opportunity and ran with it. And that's the big part of being an SE is you're gonna get opportunities, run with it
Mm.
because we do get a lot of benefits, right? It's a sales job, but we don't have all the rules that territory managers do. When you get onto a meeting, right, with a CISO or a director, they're gonna look to see who the TM is and who the engineer is, and they're like, Beard, you're the engineer. So we do draw one on Camila for most of her meetings, just so that she has the beard too.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to be in shirt and tie, right? When you go to on-site meetings, the TMs, they're always in a suit, shirt and tie. We get to dress down a little bit, right? We're the engineers. I unintentionally didn't switch my hat out on a meeting about 2 years ago and was wearing my Superman hat. And it became a thing where I had to go to customer meetings with my Superman hat on because they wouldn't recognize me otherwise. So you also have to be careful there because if you do something once, people might come to expect it from you as you get more into being an SE. So those are some of the other things we do. Now, like I also mentioned before, a big part of this is building those relationships out with your customers. And that can have a lot of implications. We should be the ones that they like, right? We're not the salespeople. We're the technical people. We're the ones that they can get into and have a conversation with, and they don't expect us to come over with, oh, well, how's that PO coming? How's that check coming? We're legitimately there to help them, and so building out that relationship, it does help in the sales side because they trust us. They know that they want to stick with Tenable because of the SC experience that they have. When you talk to a lot of customers who are with our competitors, right? Not going to name any, but they'll tell us, we're like, look, when we did the evaluation with you, you helped us set it up. You were there with us day in and day out. You held our hand. You were on the phone when we needed you. You popped on meetings when we needed you. Those other guys, they threw the keys over the fence and said, good luck. And that's something that we hear a lot. So we really do strive to make sure that our customer experience is as good as possible. It does have some downsides, right? When Log4Shell came out, I pretty much spent 3 weekends on with customers, just trying to get them set up with scanning, finding out where it is in their environment, right? You get on the Rolodex of state CISOs, and suddenly you're out with your kid on a Saturday and a state CISO calls, you're like, well, I guess I should pick this one up, because you're on their list. When something happens, you're on their list of people they call to help out. And that, honestly, it does feel good as an SE when you get to that point with your customers where they really are trusting you, where you're on their list of people they call when something goes on. They need your advice, they need your help. It does give you a boost. And then you can carry that confidence through with your other customers to help build those relationships out. Let's see. Did I miss any fun parts of being an SE? Let's see. You do get to travel a bit. Sometimes it's exotic places like Albany, New York. But I also did just have one of my guys get to go to Hawaii for a week. I couldn't make the business case that I had to be the one to go, unfortunately. So Jim got to go. But you do get to go to really fun places. You do get to do conferences. And they can be a lot of fun. Partner events as well. You get invited to might be a hockey game, could be a really cool dinner. You've gotten ways that you get in, because the partners that you work with day in and day out, and those are the big sales guys, right? The CDWs, the SHIs of the world, Presidios. They want to be in your good terms too, because as the SC, you do have a lot of power with your opinion. Once you are
Mhm.
that trusted advisor, your opinion does hold weight. And so while it's a really fun job, while you can do a lot of really cool things, you do end up getting to the point where you do have to stop and think, right? It's not just the fun and games part. You're not just delivering the demo, just throwing up the fun slides to get everybody laughing and their attention together. But when something bad does happen, you have to step back into that role as well.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, I like to joke around a lot. You saw the slides I put up and things like that. I do that a lot in my demos. But when something serious happens, when someone has had a breach, when somebody has had a ransomware attack, uh, you got to step back into that more serious role. You need to be able to deliver what that customer needs, what that trusted partner needs from you in order to get there. So I would say for anyone who is looking to get into a sales engineering role, uh, do it. It's an incredible career to have. You can absolutely go any place that you'd like to with it, whether that's into product or project management, becoming a territory manager, going into leadership, or even just continuing to be the best SE you can. You have a lot of flexibility. You also have a lot of master of your own destiny in that way. There will be months, there will be times when you're in meetings back to back all day every day. If you're someone who really likes to have lunch every day, probably not the job for you. uh, some days lunch just doesn't happen. Just doesn't work out for you. But you also have those quiet times, right? The first couple weeks after a quarter has ended, and you can really focus in on projects that you're passionate about. We've got an engineer on our federal side who is incredibly passionate about a product that is now out called Tenable Enclave Security, which is a fully on-premise designed for federal governments, people with like IL5 or other governments who do have very specific on-premise capabilities. And he was incredibly passionate about this, probably maybe too passionate. I'm sure he annoyed quite a few people, but he got it built out. He got that going. And so that was a passion project of his. And you also have time to work on yourself. We all have hobbies outside. Nice thing too is you get to be geeky. You still get to be nerdy. It's expected of you. You can have all your cool stuff behind you. Or working with your customers, you can look in their background and be like, "Hey, is that a Dalek? That's pretty awesome. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's get going in." And you build that rapport by just being you. So there's a lot of fun there. Chidi actually just answered, "How do you start?" Um, Best way to start is honestly by going and looking at something like one of the boot camps.
Mhm.
There are a lot of sales engineering boot camps. Camille, what was the one that you went through?
Pre-sales academy.
Pre-sales academy. Yep, there's
Mhm.
pre-sales academy that you can go through as well as others. But just getting in to learn about demos, right? Going in and watching demos that may be online. If you go to Tenable's YouTube, there's a lot there, but that's the big part of the job, especially when you're in interviews with people other than me. A lot of leaders really want you to do a demo. They want to see how you would show something. Personally, I kind of look at it as, I can teach you to demo. It's do you have the ability to do that? And I don't want you to demo Tenable stuff in an interview. I want you to demo something that you know really well, something that you're passionate about, even if it's not tech or software based, because that's going to give a better insight into how you're actually going to demo. So, Chidi, I hope that answers your question a little bit, but I would say, yeah, absolutely the best way to start. See as many demos as you can, go through some of those boot camps, make sure that you have the foundational knowledge that you have for any of that, any of the knowledge you need, because when you come into it, SEs need to have that core foundational knowledge. You can't fake it with a lot of our customers. When you get into these people who are extremely mature in their process, who have a lot of information, or who just like to be the smartest person in the room, which does happen quite often, they're going to ask you questions. And you need to be able to, one, know when it doesn't make sense, when they're just trying to sound smart and get over you, so that you can address that without calling them out on it, right? You can't call people out because we're a customer facing business, we're a person based business. But you need to know how to backpedal from it. Or they're going to come in and they're going to ask you something really, really simple that anyone should be able to answer. And if you can't, you lose that trust.
Mhm.
We do have about 13 minutes left. So if there are any other questions, please go ahead and put them into the chat there. I'll wait a minute, and if there are none, I'll go ahead and just start reciting The Great Gatsby for you guys for the rest of the time. All right, don't see too much typing going on, so I'll just kind of say a few final words, and if anyone does have questions, please feel free to put them in there. But our LinkedIn should be available to you. Please feel free to reach out if you do have questions that you didn't want to bring up here. If you want to talk about becoming an SC, even becoming an SC at Tenable, we do hire from time to time. We don't lose people too often, but people do retire and all of that, so we do hire SCs. We got the new year coming, which always opens positions and things up. So careers.tenable.com is definitely a place you can go to look. But like I said, being an SC, fantastic career. We have people on the team who are just getting started. We also have people who are really looking at their retirement now. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
There is entry level tracks. So there is what's called commercial, which you may also see as inside sales, and that's generally the entry level for security engineers. You have lower quotas, the customers are smaller, they're less complex, so you can really get your feet wet and move forward.
Or
Um,
associate.
Yep, yeah,
Associate.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
associate SCs who generally go to those commercial teams, and
Mhm.
then you build up, right? You build up your reputation, and it's really as fast as you would like it. Some people are going to take their time, others are going to just jump right in. Let's see. So yeah. So for Johnny asking, what would you recommend for someone in a mid career within Tenable? I would recommend that somebody really look at where they are and what they want to do. Because as you're at your mid career, you need to start putting in those places for the rest of your career. So you would really want to say, "Hey, I love being an SE. Let me tell my manager that I just want to master my craft. I want to continue moving into a senior role and a principal role." And that's perfectly fine. We absolutely love to have those really invested SEs who know absolutely everything and have 20 years worth of relationships. The other part is if you want to go, my track. I always knew that I wanted to be a people manager, right? When I first had some of my one-on-ones with my VPs, like, great, where do you want to be in the next 10 years? I said, your job. And he said, great, let's show you how you get my job. That's where you want to be. We're gonna do that. Or if you wanted to go into another realm, say, hey, I'd really like to become a salesperson, right? I've got all this technical knowledge. I think I could be extremely dangerous as a TM, and we can get you on that path. So that, Johnny, that'd be really my advice, is to sit back, take personal inventory of where you are and where you want to be, and make sure that your leader knows about it. Shawnee asked, as an SE at Tenable sounds similar to a solutions architect. Did the SE role actually build the systems or just demo, sell solutions and products? No. So we do have specific solutions architects, but that is one of our many jobs. It's going to depend on the customers. Some are going to want us in there and to bring up their network diagram and show them, you're going to put a scanner here, 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 and here. You want to go ahead and get this built out in this way. Here's filters that are going to be useful to you. And others just want us there just in case they need us. So it really depends on the customers how far into being a solutions architect that we get. But it is very case by case basis. That's why it's important to know where your customer is in their path, what they're doing now, where they want to be. Awesome questions. Anybody else? Perfect. All right. Well, again, thank you all for being here and letting us yap at you for about an hour. I hope it was useful information. And absolutely, please, if you're considering a career as an SE, don't feel like you can't reach out at any time. Always happy to discuss getting into that realm. And like I said, it's an incredibly rewarding career. It's something that you can really get into, have a job that you like going into day in and day out, but doesn't have to be your passion, because you have so much freedom that you really are able to be an incredible SE and be passionate about other things as well. Or like some of our guys are, just be incredibly passionate about security, right? I turn off my laptop at the end of the night and I go and do other things. Others set up labs and are constantly doing things like creating the Python tool that we have to integrate with our API, or building out data sets that are used for the overall organization. So there is a place for really every personality type as an SE. As long as you're a people person, as long as you are great at building solutions, looking at things logically, and most importantly, asking why, you can have an incredible career as an SE. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the time, and hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
All right. Bye, everyone.